Hello and thank you for having me today. How many of you have ever wondered about where the energy resources you use every day come from? Whether it be the oil and gas in your car or the light bulbs in your home. Today almost all of our energy comes from non-renewable fossil fuel resources, and with our population growing every day, our need for more resources is skyrocketing. It is through personal experience and education that I believe it is time to substantially cut the amount of fossil fuels used in our world. What I have noticed is that every person that hasn't seen the problems fossil fuels cause just needs to have their eyes open on the issue. My instance of this occurred in high school. As a senior, I took one of the most interesting and life-changing courses I've ever taken, AP Environmental Science. And it was through this course and the teacher teaching it that I made the discovery that something needed to change. Whether it's the amount of electricity that you use in the car or the amount of oil you put in the car you drive, every aspect of how you live your day-to-day life alters the amount of resources you use. It is by being educated on what you can and cannot use that will change how the world sees our dependence on fossil fuels as a problem. According to the state of Washington's Ecology Department in 2015, for every mile you drive on average, 1 pound of CO2 is released into the atmosphere, causing the greenhouse effect in the atmosphere to continue to affect the air around us. There are thousands of research statistics just like this one, leading to the statement that our dependence on fossil fuels is growing, that the use of them is causing a negative impact in the world in which we live. Now think about your daily life and all the things you do. How many miles do you drive a day? How many hours a day do you have electricity flowing through your light fixtures and televisions? All of these things are dependent on coal, natural gas, and oil to function. It is through the burning of these things that methane and carbon dioxide are released in massive quantities every day, trapping UV rays and essentially convecting the world we live in. And without a change in opinion on the energy crisis, nothing is going to change, or change is going to occur too late. Here's something you probably didn't know. According to the National Wildlife Federation, more than 30% of the U.S. total global warming pollution comes from the burning of coal to produce our electricity. And every day, the U.S. population spends more than $1.5 billion on foreign oil alone for our cars and manufacturing uses. So think about it. Is our fossil fuel dependency something that needs to change? The solution to the problem is a simple concept, but will take sufficient amount of time to fully see through. The gradual reduction of fossil fuels will do many things, including reduce our dependency on foreign energy sources, reduce the impact of global warming on the world, and reduce the economical strain on the drilling and refining of resources. By reducing our need for oil, we will cut dependency from places such as Saudi Arabia and other Middle Eastern nations, which could turn into lower tensions between nations and the militant groups around the world. By reducing the impact of global warming, many theoretical changes will come into play. The polar caps could stop melting, and many species would be able to survive that couldn't in a hotter climate. Lastly, reducing the use of fossil fuels will reduce the drastic amount of spending that takes place in the drilling, refining, and transportation of oil, coal, and natural gas, and other such resources. This money can be used for research into greener technologies and other necessary spending, such as creating jobs in green technology industry and companies, since many workers will be out of the oil and gas and coal business. Imagine a world without a drastic change in fossil fuel use. If fossil fuels are reduced, and greener living is taught and promoted to those all over the country and all over the world, we can stop and perhaps reverse the negative impacts that we as a species have caused to the world. Electricity can operate everything we use, including our vehicles, and if sufficient research is put into it, new technologies such as hydrogen fuel cells can power them. According to Forbes, as well as Toyota's website, the Toyota Motor Company has released and made public over 5,000 patents regarding hydrogen fuel cell technology, leading the change to making greener technology more obtainable by more companies and more people. If a change does not occur, imagine a much hotter world with a shrinking number of species that cannot operate in the living conditions made possible by the constant burning of these toxins. Imagine smog over every city you know, and massive amounts of spending in order to locate the few amounts of resources left. Imagine gas going over $10 a gallon and even more crowded roadways. In conclusion, there are many things that we can all do to alter the use of fossil fuels. When it comes down to it, the decision to turn to greener technology is completely dependent on the world coming together to see the problem, and not rejecting it due to the cost of switching technologies that many conservatives will adopt. If you yourself are able to detect change like I have been, even at a young age, you will see that the world is changing and it is time for us to change as well. The thought and theory of global warming and climate change is a tricky concept, but if you believe in it, let others know and show them what you see. The first and foremost important thing to do is educate others and lead by example. Recycle, be the first to buy an electric car, put solar panels on your roof, switch energy providers to solar or wind-powered brands. Spread the world that you see change is necessary. We want the world to be better than it was for future generations and for our species and other species. So let's do something to promote it. Take shorter showers, purchase more efficient if not electric vehicles. Invest in research of green technologies. The small steps make the biggest difference. Thank you.
Awesome.
Wait.
Don't turn it off.
Can't turn it off yet.